So let's talk about alchemy. Alchemy is said to be the ancient art of turning base metal into gold. And only the wizards could do that. Merlin was an alchemist. There are many throughout history. You can find books galore. And some people say they've done it. I don't know if that's true. I've never seen it. And I think if it were true in the physical sense, we'd have gold everywhere. Because lead's good for bullets, but shoot, if you have a gold bullet, that's really cool. So then, after many years of study, people realized maybe they weren't really talking about turning lead into gold, but transforming a human into a highly spiritual being. And there are lots of study on that as well. And I went down that path. It started a long time ago in my life. And I read books and I studied, not because I wanted to be a super spiritual being, but because I wanted to get out of the pain that I had. Because I can tell you for certain, there's not one child born into this realm that doesn't suffer trauma. Some people have memories of childbirth trauma. And I imagine, that's pretty traumatic. But there are real traumas that children go through by generally traumatized parents. They're unaware. I don't think they're evil. They could be narcissistic. They could have mental health issues. But children suffer physical, emotional trauma. Sadly, some suffer sexual trauma. And that gets piled over as we grow up. And it has to, because we don't have the mind to do anything with it. So we go through life and we try. And most times we don't get what we're looking for. And so then we feel bad. And there's a loop that gets reinforced. That trauma from a child affects us in our 20s and our 30s, sometimes our 40s and 50s, and even later. There are senior citizens who are walking around with unhealed trauma. A lot of people will go to a therapist and try to heal that trauma. Sometimes it works. I don't know that the success rate is very high because people continue to go. So I'm not sure that that's the answer. But one thing I've witnessed, and I've heard it said before, but I've witnessed it in my own life, is through a relationship with another person, you have the opportunity to heal your trauma. And let's say you meet somebody and you care about them and you're attracted to them and you get together. Things are going pretty good. You're having fun, learning new things, having a great time. And then your traumas come out, which they're always going to. And if you have been an adult in relationship with another person, you know this to be true. And then we have choices of how we deal with it. More often than not, both people, they'll trigger each other's trauma, and they have a crappy relationship, and things go bad, and they don't know why, and it's just, guy, why did she used to be this way, and how come he's not that way anymore? And it stagnates, and a lot of people will stay that way for years, and some people will run and go to the next one and do the same thing. Pardon me, it's not very often that within that relationship that both people are at the same place to stop and say, wait a minute, I think you're dealing with trauma. Maybe you should look at that. It's a great opportunity if you're in a safe relationship with somebody who knows they have trauma as well. They want to work on it while you work on yours. That can be a very powerful thing. It's something I'm experiencing right now, which is why this video idea came to mind. I think the real alchemy in this place is to transform your trauma into love. And yeah, that sounds a little postcardy, but if you're willing to take your trauma, really be honest about it, look at it, maybe get help with a therapist, maybe deal with it on your own. If you realize your goal is not to raise your vibration or not to be a super spiritual person, but just to be healed and whole, that is a much less daunting task, I think, in our minds, but it's also the real one. We have all the tools we need down here. Sorry, anyway. It's painful, and it takes time. And if you're in a relationship with somebody that allows you that space, stick with that one, because that's one of the rare ones and one of the good ones. And you're going to have to allow them that space as well. They're going to say something that's shitty, and you're going to have to not take it personal and watch them as they navigate through their trauma. And sometimes you talk about it with each other, sometimes you don't. It's very possible that both of you have the trauma at a similar level or have experienced similar things. And if you just literally talk about it with each other, you got a hell of a chance of fixing it. I've made some recent changes in my life, and they're all for the better. And there was a time in my relationship where I could have done what I did in the past and said, no, I'm good. I don't have those issues. But I was honest this time. And maybe that comes with age. There's a lot to this. But I just think it's very important if you're going to bump around this place with others and you do want to not feel terrified and hurt and afraid all the time, then it's time for you to become an alchemist. You're not lead. You're not a hump of coal. You are 24 karat gold. Maybe you just kind of forgot it. Or it's been papered over with traumas. So get to work, people. Sorry. Just kidding. I didn't know how to end this, so I think that's about all I have to say. I thank you for listening. And if you have any comments, I appreciate it. Take good care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.